we have a bunch of entrepreneurs and founders from different segments. Maybe I'm going to start with, just giving a perspective of what's going on in the market, right? I don't know, some of these discussions may have been had over the last day and a half, but we're talking about India going digital and what's happening in the startup world, and therefore directly linking the entrepreneurs to this activity. So as per data which is out, as of last year, some 3,500 companies were funded from $3 billion. I believe that number has jumped in the first 6 months to another 1,000 plus companies, another $1 billion or $1.5 billion added already. So very fast growing impact in the market. I don't think anything is being spared. Any industry is being spared. From ad tech, edutech, consumer, fintech, medtech. So name the industry and there's a tech attached to it now. And these people are disrupting the industry in a radical way, hopefully to the benefit of the consumer at large. And the general belief is that India being among the top 3 startup ecosystems in the world now, aside of US and China, the feeling is that this will only grow manifold. I sometimes wonder, is this for real? At least some time back it was not. But, I guess over the last 6 months and maybe over the last 1 year more specifically, there seems to be really moving on the right path. So all you entrepreneurs over there, there's a lot of hope, a lot of promise, a lot of opportunity. I once again welcome the panelists to this session. Maybe I'm going to start with just their perspective on what's going on in the market. So I'm going to request Navneet. Navneet, just an overall feeling, what do you think is happening in this market?
From an investment point of view?
Yes.
As you said, the investment scenario in India right now is, if you can call it crazy. People are coming up with each and every idea with the tech attached to it. So you talk about, as you said, fintech, food tech, hyperlocal. These are the sort of buzzwords right now. But at least what's becoming clear on the positive side is that India is sort of starting to sort of pivot towards a bigger market. People are starting to compare India to China. So just to give you an example, the Chinese e-commerce market is, in 2012, it was about $200 billion. And the Indian e-commerce market at that point was somewhere around $1 to $2 billion or so. That's the difference in scale. What the investors seem to be betting on, and that's a personal opinion, what the investors seem to be betting on is that Indian market is also going to sort of multiply to a certain scale. It may not reach that $200 billion scale which China has, but the Indian market is not very different. The Indian market has enough population, enough market in terms of the people in the market itself, and the per capita sort of income is also not very different. It's not like US versus India.
Anything you think can spoil the party? Short term?
Yes, if people start investing blindly, then obviously there will be a bloodbath then at some point. But if people are sort of have their heads on the shoulders and investing in real businesses in the right teams, I think the right investments should definitely sort of give good returns.
So we also have a Rahul on the panel. When I was told that we have a Rahul on the panel, I said, is it the Rahul? And there was silence. I was hoping it was the Rahul of housing fame. But no, this is a bigger gambler. He runs a very active gaming product company. Rahul, welcome. What are your thoughts?
Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to tell the mic. I'm sorry to disappoint everyone because I'm not Yadav, but that's all right. I will make you laugh though. So I think this is actually a great time to start anything. Believe it or not, the way the economy and the country's sort of placed at this moment, if you guys have an idea, if you think you have a business and it can be a tech or it can be a .com or even a .in, you should start it. And for starting it, there's a great infrastructure, and the investment money, as even Navneet was saying, is out there. And you can find so many ways, like so many things have become easier. So I want to talk about it more from the infrastructure point of view, that things have become easier, which is why then, to your point, there's maybe a bubble, there's maybe a bloodbath. But the fact is, it's easy or simpler to just go ahead and get your idea out there, get a prototype out there, reach the market, get discovered. So many layers have been solved, actually. And they've been paved the way. I would know, we started gaming in the country, and at a time in 2011 when people couldn't pay on Facebook. So we ended up getting some millions of users on our cricket game, and no one could pay. We were making no money, absolutely no money. And now we're making some money. And so I've seen the transition in that phase. So I think it's a great market at space overall. And for anyone to have an idea and to just put it out there, things are very simpler. And from an investment point of view, the capital is just flowing.
So if you look at data, it gives the impression that to get funded, you need to be an engineer, ideally from one of the IITs. You need to be under 35, and ideally with some experience. That's what 50% and more of the data suggests. Do you find merit in that thinking?
I think it's, just a disclaimer, I am from IIT, but doesn't mean that all the bright kids go to IIT only.
I agree.
So, right. So I think I don't think the funding decision is made based on, what college you went to and what kind of, sort of companies you have worked for. Once you mine the data, then you can come up with, some sort of statistic which can always, skew, the viewpoint. I was a data scientist at Facebook before coming back and starting the company. So, numbers lie. So it's a good way to saying that, X% of companies have founders from IIT and IIMs. I think it's not just about the college. It's about, how you have been able to sort of understand the market.
So do you think idea is priority over everything else?
No, I don't think ideas are dime a dozen. It's not about the idea itself, it's the execution that matters. And once you have reached a stage where you are actually approaching an investor, it's not just about the idea, it's about your understanding of the market, it's about the execution that you have been able to showcase so far, and what are your learnings in terms of what you not want to do, right? So,
So Ravi, if you look at, if idea is not everything, where do you start? Because you get funded much later, execution happens much later. You want money to start. You want to create a very basic organization. So what is your pearls of wisdom to the audience over here?
To begin with, I'm not from IIT. I'm not an engineer. So my pearls of wisdom is that I think passion is very important. What you want to do, you should be passionate about it. You should not do it to start because you want to get funded. You want to do it because you want to do it. I've been in healthcare in Singapore and India, and when I was at the Max group of hospitals, I saw all the unethical practices in healthcare. And I saw people don't have access to information, pricing is opaque, doctors spend 3 minutes with the patients.
I hope Max is not in a list of hospitals.
So that was my passion, that why don't I make information available to everybody? And that's what's happening in the country today. Everybody wants access, everybody has access, geography are disappearing, and everybody wants more information. And that's what we are doing in the healthcare sector. And there was a compelling need. So the one thing is passion, second thing is what's the compelling need?
Right, but how do you think one starts from day one? Any thoughts from any of the panelists?
Okay.
Because you've got a lot of entrepreneurs over here.
Sure.
So just practical advice.
Yes, you do need some idea of what you want to do, but rest assured, whatever idea you start with is not going to be what you sort of end the opportunity with. You will have to listen to what the customer says, whoever your customer is, whether it's a B2B kind of business, your other clients on the other side, or it's the end consumer. You'll have to listen to what the customer says and sort of keep modifying that idea. So yes, the idea is definitely important, but not the end in itself. So you need to have an idea, but what you really need to have is passion to actually make that idea into some reality. Everybody has an idea, and okay, there was this boss of mine who used to say this: ideas are like assholes. Everybody has one, right? But anybody who sort of acts on the idea and does something, so you have to have the passion to take that plunge. Just to give you some my personal experience, I mean, I'd been thinking of doing something of my own right out of gate of IIM Ahmedabad. But it was a tough call for me. I mean, I was earning enough. I was in a plush job, and starting something of your own, leaving that comfort of the salary hitting your bank account at the end of the month, it was a big call. I got married. I had a kid. Bought a home, so home loan was going on. So how do you sort of start something of your own when you have this EMI which goes out? But one thing I was very certain that at some point I want to do this. So I was completely focused on sort of paying off my home loan, so paid off that pretty quickly. And then at some point when I felt that, okay, now even though my bank balance was completely zero at that point, I decided that, look, this is the time I want to start now. So just to counter the question that you said earlier, that the guy needs to be from IIT, needs to be under 25. I was 35 when I started Novo Logistics, and I don't happen to be from IIT, so 40% of us are not from IIT. So the passion is very important. What you need to decide on is how big you want your idea to be. There will be ideas which will become lifestyle businesses. There will be ideas which can become billion-dollar businesses. You have to choose your passion. What is it that you want? Do you want to create a billion-dollar company, or do you want to create that something you enjoy and you still have a work-life balance and things like that? So you choose your idea, go after it with full passion, and you'll find partners to sort of go with you if you are good enough in execution. As earlier one of the panelists said that execution is also important. Yes, idea is good, you'll find partners, but if you can't execute, nothing's going to come out of it.
Okay, let me ask the panelists now about their experiences in their businesses. Rahul, I'm going to start with you. Walk through your journey in your business from the beginning to now in terms of creating the business, in terms of, market reactions, consumers, stuff like that.
Right. We're all going to be here for a few hours to realize that. Okay, so we never officially wanted to get into gaming. I actually started my entrepreneurial journey a really long time ago, but we started with a dating site for Indians. And to your point, the consumer reaction wasn't great, and to Navneet's point, we executed an idea really bad. And we learned a lot. We learned about the infrastructure, we learned about payments in India, we learned about people, users, reactions. And along the way, we built this technology that just allowed people to connect with each other, because it was a dating app, right? Just like Tinder or anything else. But we weren't doing well, so that's where we pivoted into gaming, because the idea was in that, where we noticed that no one had built a very large, and I would say, brand out of India in gaming in particular that owned a large market share of mobile gamers and even web gamers today. There are companies, we have competition, but the addressable market is huge, and no one had that. So we started gaming, and we thought we had nailed it, because then we built the cricket game. So now we went from nothing to a dating site, and then that failed, and we jumped to gaming, and we built a cricket game on Facebook. We got a few million users. We're very happy, but we have no payments. So now, me and my co-founder are paying for things like Maggie, and now we learned that we were eating crap all those years, and maybe we would be smarter if we hadn't had so much Maggie at that time, but that's fine. The idea point was that we were still able to raise money, though. We were able to raise because we showed metrics and engagement and numbers, and we scraped our way through. Once we raised, that was the turning point in 2012, because now we had funding, and we had the technology as well. Remember, the technology evolved, so that was our real product, which is connecting people. So we hired a team, and we built more games, and suddenly, with all the experience and all the time we had spent in the industry, we built a real money game for Rummy, we built a real money cricket game, we built a couple of more, and saw success. And it's never been easy, of course. One of the many challenges is, again,
Are you a techie?
Am I a techie? Oh, yeah. And I won't tell you if I'm from IIT or not.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that is being a techie important?
If your product is a technical product, yes, absolutely, right? I mean, the point here is that you should have someone, if you're not one, find one, because if your product is a technical product, you better know the ins and outs of it or have someone, a co-founder who does. Otherwise, you'll be in very big trouble. I can name quite a few companies that have died because they are not techie enough.
And do you believe all businesses need to pivot once early in life?
No, I would tell you this, like everyone, again, I'm going to tell you guys, if you have an idea, you should start, and I'll tell you why, because Navneet said this again, which is the first idea is probably not where you'll end up. So not all businesses pivot once. What ends up is people have pivoted many times before that. So again, we would be here for hours if all of us, I think, started telling our whole story. So I'm not telling you what I did even before the dating site. But we've pivoted enough to get where we are, and it's been all that experience that's put together.
So since you are in the entertainment business now, right, how do you see this whole startup world impacting entertainment?
Sure. So I think what we're doing is we're giving people more accessibility to entertainment in their hands because the mobile world is changing things. So again, another thing everyone should realize is that desktop and mobile are merging. And over the next few years, everyone thinks app right now. You need an app. But the truth is, guys, again, as the speed of the internet picks up in this country, as people get faster internet services, you won't need necessarily an app. What will happen is you'll just punch in the name of a service you want and it'll be delivered instantly. And it'll be delivered to every possible device. The websites are now, mobile-friendly. Mobile-friendly apps are now website-friendly. It doesn't matter. And entertainment or gaming is driving that because we just continue to build, believe it or not, very sophisticated technology that allows people to format all these assets. I'm getting very technical, so I'll end with this. We format all these assets. We're delivering data over really low connections. Someone with a 2G connection in Chennai can play my game with someone with a 3G or a 4G connection in Delhi. And that technology is then changing every other service that gets delivered on top of that.
Ravi, you've been a veteran in the business, in the healthcare side. What is your experience and your journey at Credi Health?
So, Credi Health has been very different to my first business. My first business was started in 1990 in a garage in Defense Colony, and that was a consulting business. And that time I was 26, 27. I was told you need to be bald or old to start a business of consulting business. Today I'm both of that. That time I wasn't. But it took me 3 years to make India's #1 consulting firm, which continues to be #1 today. So when I started Credi Health, it was very different. To deal with young people, to learn new technology, to appreciate new technologies, to be doing cold calling to big hospitals, to be making sure that we're designing something which nobody's done in India before. And it has met with great success. In the last 18 months since our portal is alive, we have helped 60,000 patients. And it's growing many folds day by day. So if you have a great idea, you have the passion, execute it well, but just stay at it. I would disagree with Navneet when he says he can maintain a work-life balance. I can't. So I think in the first 3 years of a startup, there is no work-life balance.
Is there a lot of activity in the healthcare side, healthcare startup side?
Yes. Healthcare, as you know, is a recession-proof industry. It's growing 17 to 18%. And we think that our research shows that 10 to 12% of hospitalization will happen through the online channels in the next 3 years. So there's a lot of traction. People want access. People from small towns want to come to big towns. We are trying to disrupt what's called the referral channel, where the family doctor sends you to only one hospital, and you know why. So we are trying to bring in that transparency. So we are seeing a lot of traction.
So are you disruptive or you're collaborative, which means that are you actually changing the game for the bigger boys?
We are collaborative with the hospitals because we are a sales channel for them. We are disruptive for the unethical small players in the system. So we are disrupting that market. And we are collaborating with people and with hospitals.
Right.